What's up, everyone? So this is a very impromptu video because I am reading more books these days. I know, educated Prerak in the house. I've been reading more books these days, and those books have been enlightening. And I came across a point yesterday from a very smart person in the book I'm reading that is making me realize everyone who tells you don't give up, that's honestly pretty crappy advice. And so today we're going to go over that. Let's do it. So what do I mean by this? Why is don't give up kind of crappy advice? Well, the reason it's kind of crappy advice is because I have learned through the last X number of years of my life that honestly, in college, I was trying to be the best in everything. And in medical school, I realized like that is not sustainable, and there's certain things that you actually do need to give up on because it comes at an opportunity cost. And so I was really delighted to find that the inspiration behind this book, which is the book I'm reading behind this presentation, which is the book I'm reading right now, is Angela Duckworth's Grit, The Power of Passion and Perseverance. And the reason why this book is so great is because, first of all, Dr. Duckworth is a MacArthur Genius Fellow. She's a phenomenal psychologist. She's at UPenn and has been doing crazy work that I've been following for ages just because I've listened to her a lot on podcasts. So for anyone who hasn't read this book, it's totally fine because the whole gist of this book is what exactly is grit. Grit is passion and perseverance for long-term goals. It's essentially when you are able to push yourself consistently for long periods of time because you are doing something that you genuinely care about. And the reason why grit is so important is because it is a reliable predictor of success across almost any industry. For example, in West Point, they have a 1-month introduction. West Point is a military school that's very intense, very academically rigorous, but they have an orientation for everyone who starts West Point. And the first X number of months are some of the most grueling months any human being can ever have. You're working hard, you're going through workouts. It's very mentally and physically exhausting. And only, I think 75% of the people make it through. Multiple people drop out. And the people who make it through are usually the people who have the most grit. Similarly, the people who are often the most successful, who are the most successful in their domain, psychology, medicine, whatever it is, they tend to have quite a lot of grit. And so that's why grit is very, very important. And oftentimes you need to develop grit. And I personally can say I think I'm one of the people who has quite a lot of grit. And you need to develop it over time. And how does this fit into the point of this video, which is why like don't give up is kind of crappy advice? Well, the reason it points into the general gist of this video is because you can figure out where to get grit by creating a pyramid of goals. Okay, and this pyramid of goals usually has 3 tiers, and this is all from Dr. Duckworth's book. The first tier is the most important tier. It's your purpose. It's your driving purpose, and it is something that should be guiding a lot of the things you do day to day in your personal and professional life. So for Dr. Duckworth, we're going to talk about this, but for example, her big overarching goal is to help children thrive by using psychological science. She's trying to show children the fundamentals of grit and ultimately help them succeed. That is her big level goal. And how does this fit in? Well, that big level goal is going to then feed into smaller level goals, which then fit into even smaller level goals. These low level goals are usually goals that are on your to-do list every day. Like, for example, submit my publication, get an A in my class, finish my final, finish my assignment. All of these low-level goals feed into your mid-level goals. For example, in the case of Dr. Duckworth, maybe this is submitting a paper, and that paper will ultimately help her get published in a very reputable journal, which will then help her gain credibility to ultimately help kids get better behavior through psychological science, right? And so these small level goals lead to mid-level goals, but ultimately the big concern is the goal that you are tenacious about, the one that you're stubborn about, the one that you're aligned to, and the one that you wake up every day wanting to just address in some way, shape, or form. And for me, I can almost tell you, I've been thinking a lot about this, and for me, it is to share my love of science and to be able to help others using my knowledge of science. And I think that's my big level goal, but I'm still trying to figure it out. But I know for a fact, if you told me every day I had to wake up and just work on that, I would feel really happy. Whether that's through my YouTube channel, which might be a low-level goal, through my podcast, through board games, through treating patients, any of those things are smaller level goals or even mid-level goals, right? but they ultimately feed into this general idea of my purpose, which is this ultimate concern. So again, you can see that for Dr. Duckworth, that's her big level goal. And again, this is going to feed back to the title of this video, which is why don't give up is kind of crappy advice, because the don't give up applies to the ultimate concern that you have. You should never give up on your purpose. Once you figure out what you're tenacious and stubborn about, never give up on that. If you want to be, for example, another example in the book is a reporter who loves West Africa. He loves the vibe of West Africa, and he knew that his big level goal was to be in West Africa for the rest of his life and shed insight into that culture. And the mid-level goals that got him there are ultimately working for the New York Times, and he published a lot of stories. But for example, he had a lot of low-level goals, which was ultimately to get published. And guess what? Those low-level goals, it's okay to give up on those. Because guess what? Those low-level goals, there's so much replacement potential there that, for example, let's say you get rejected from a publication. That is a low-level goal because that publication should never be your purpose. But if that publication fed into your desire to be a badass social scientist, then getting rejected is a low-level goal. It's okay to say, okay, whatever, it's fine, I'm going to apply somewhere else. It's okay to give up on low-level goals, primarily because you can find another goal that can take the place of that low-level goal and ultimately serve your purpose. So what do I mean by this? I have this all the time, where either I get rejected for something, maybe I apply for a bunch of positions and I get rejected. And usually those positions, whether that's in the form of getting tutoring or getting help, X, Y, or Z, those positions are feeding into my ultimate goal, which is to help increase my credibility to ultimately share science with the world. But if I get rejected, that doesn't mean I should just stop sharing science. If anything, it's like, okay, I got rejected, or maybe this opportunity is not the best. I'm not going to pursue it. I'm going to pursue this other opportunity that I think is better. And it is okay to give up on low-level goals. That is the point I want to make in this, because everyone who says don't give up, it's kind of crappy advice, because I think that don't give up applies to your big purpose. It's okay to give up on lower level goals if you realize, like, hey, maybe moving to Tennessee is not the best idea because my ultimate goal is to be in California with my family. And so instead of going to Tennessee, maybe I'm going to alternate and go to a different, mid-level hospital center. So figuring out what your low-level goals are and being okay not always fulfilling them is fine. It's okay to give up on your low-level goals as long as you stick to your high-level goal. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I just had to make it just because it was such an enlightening philosophy, and I found myself sticking a lot more to this. Every time I fail now, I'm like, whatever, it's fine. And the reason it's fine is because usually those things are lower level goals that are intended to help my high level goal. And as long as my high level goal is not changing, that is ultimately what you should be proud of. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, drop a like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.